Hello everyone, this is the Casablanca, and by popular demand, we will be creating the Mario Party Luigi plush. First of all, I want to thank everybody who was supportive of the last plush tutorial. It was really great seeing all these comments saying how good it looked and how surprised and happy you were by the result. And I wanted to see if Mario's brother could get at least a bit of a better treatment in terms of how the template was made and how much better I can do with the embroidery and just the overall improvements and similarities I could get to the original Mario Party Luigi plush. And in addition to the embroidery for the face, the embroidery for the little glove, 3 glove strokes, as well as the boots, they have been improved as well for this Luigi. And I aim to make it a little better with the hat in terms of how I sewed it and how it was made in the template. If you just not have happened to make the Mario yet, maybe you can take some of the embroidery tips and the template tips and apply them to that Mario, as well as the Luigi that we will be making today. Again, thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the video. Alright, first things first, but optional, you're going to want a sewing machine, unless you want to do it by hand. Alright, in terms of threads, you're going to want a peach colored thread, as well as green, brown, and white, as well as some needles, including an embroidery needle, and some scissors. Blue, light blue, black, and those little embroidery threads I was talking about in the first Mario tutorial, as well as the thimble and a little embroidery hoop. And in terms of fabric, you're going to need some brown fabric, some dark blue fabric, lime green fabric if you can get it, some peach, white, and black fabric. And just to clarify, everything here is fleece. Please make sure that the fleece used for the skin, the brown hair, and the black mustache are the fluffiest. You're also going to want some yellow and white felt, as well as a much thicker white felt for the eyes. Next, you're going to want to get some stuffing, and optionally you can get some plush pellets for the boots. Then some heat transfer paper. Make sure it says dark fabrics on the label. Otherwise it would just come out clear. And lastly, an iron. Go ahead and print out all 4 pages of the templates. There should be 4. Now go ahead and cut out the head template, the main head template. This is the piece that we're going to be placing in an embroidery hoop. Now take the piece for the overall legging and hang it over the computer screen so that when you zoom out it matches. Then take your thick felt piece and trace along the outside of the eyes. Now place your eye felt piece just about ½ an inch away from the top of the head and see how that aligns up with both of the eye pieces. Then place them in the same spot on the back, but this time we're going to sew them into the headpiece. I also advise before you sew in the eye pieces, waiting for the ink to dry so it doesn't end up on the other side. Then we're going to place it in the embroidery hoop and use the white embroidery floss in this first part of the eyes. We're going to start at the top and we're going to make a line across the eyes. So like the Mario embroidery, we're going to make little stitches across from each other. So as a result, we would get some diagonal back stitching. As you can see, I'm pulling it out and I'm putting it into the line where I previously stitched. I found by doing the back stitch by hand, it just looked better than if I did it by machine. So if you wanted to learn how to do a back stitch, you can just Google it on the internet and you could probably find something that would show you how to do the back stitch if you're still confused by this. Also too, if it doesn't look perfect, it doesn't matter. It's just backstitching on different lines. and if it doesn't perfectly fit into the eye shape, then you could probably use a stitch ripper to rip it out and try again, or you can just leave it like that. It's up to you. And after that's done, we are going to take out the printed part of the eyepiece and we're going to cut out the iris of the eyepiece. Spooky. Now we're going to trace along the outside, so we have the outside piece that we're going to embroider. Make sure you use a pencil for this so it doesn't show up later. Now do the other side. Now we're going to continue with a back stitch for the black thread on the outside, and this will double as a blueprint for the blue thread. So now we're going to flip it the other way and we're going to see which of the white lines and the black lines we had missed, and then we'll go over them again with the threads. So you shouldn't be able to see the fabric in the back. And now we get to start with the light blue thread for the outside of the eyes. Now you can see on this Luigi plush, the outside part of the light blue thread is much more than the inward part. So you're going to try and replicate that. And you'd still benefit by using the template for the eyes. Do the same with the other eye and try your best to match it to the other eye. Lots of blue thread later, and here we are. They both match up pretty well. Now continuing the back stitch, but instead for the circular part of the white thread, we're going to make a bit of a circle out of these little parts of the eyes. So now we're going to do the same with the dark blue, except instead of a vertical line of backstitching, we're going to go on a horizontal line, as you can see with the official plush. See, it's side by side instead of up and down. Now take some of the thinner white felt and draw out the eyebrows with it. And make sure they're aligned properly and flipped properly before you sew them to the back of the fabric. Then just embroider the empty spaces in with the black thread. And there we are. If it ends up being a little bit off center, that's fine. As long as it's not too off center, we can just fix that with the running thread. The hand, glove band, and arm pieces like this. Take away the hand pieces that are in line with the opening dart pieces of the arms up there. Now we have the glove pieces that we are going to embroider. Then use a little bit of glue to attach a thick felt piece to the back of these gloves. And we are trying to get these 3 glove strokes, so do the same for the glove pieces. It's going to be about 1/4 of an inch for each of the strokes. Going from this direction is probably the best way to do it because it helps you to see how in line you are with the other strokes and how well you'll do in terms of the other strokes you made before. This is how it's supposed to look, but you need to sew the glove pieces on top of the glove bands, which are on top of the arms. And please make sure the glove band openings are faced inward like this, because you don't want them open on the outside. It also really helps if you sew the thumbs together before doing this. Now it should look like this, and for the other arm. Now go ahead and grab the upper body piece because we're going to attach both of the arms to each side, positioning it from the top of the dart over to the middle for the first part of the arm. And I forgot to show this in real time, but you can attach the other smaller part of the dart to the side of the arm hole. and right on top of the other part of the arm. Okay, so I've only switched over to the left arm, but here's what we're going to do. So positioning it under the dart, we're just going to align it with the grooves of the arm in line with the grooves of the hole, and the arm is sewn from the back. Now this is what it should look like. Now you're going to close it and sew in the remaining dart, as well as for the other side. After that, we're going to take the arm piece and we're going to fold it in itself. As you can see, it's already kind of like that anyway. And then we're going to sew along the line until we reach the glove. So as you can see, hopefully you can see, there's a bit of an opening left behind. It wasn't sewn in properly. So what you can do is you can just tuck it right in, and it's a little tricky, but you're gonna have to sew along that line so it's not as noticeable from the outside of the plush. And the last thing left is the gloves. Just sew them like you would the arm pieces, except with more twists and turns. Also, the stitch ripper is your best friend here if it doesn't work. Use a pencil or the blunt side of a pen to push it out. Slow but steady wins the race. And I think they ended up looking pretty insane. Like, they looked absolutely perfect, the way I wanted them to look. Go ahead and grab the lower body and attach each leg to each side of the lower body. Sew it on like this. After that, go ahead and close up the dart between the two legs and close up each side of the other darts. Take the two shoe pieces and align them on the legs, and then flip them upside down so that you can actually sew them along the lines of the legs, like this. Then go ahead and take these little darts and sew them in. Now we're going to take the sole of the feet and we're going to attach them to each side of the shoe. Now if you've seen my Mario tutorial, you will see that the shoes are pointed inwards with the lines. So the bottom of the sole is not in line with the ends of the fabric. As you can see, the shoe is in line with the rest of the leg, so you have to make sure the sole is up and down basically. And again, referring to the Mario tutorial, the same way I sewed the sole of the foot to the shoe, that's basically the same way I did it with the Luigi plush. So if you need to check back again, go look at that video and come back here. After you've done that, you can flip it out to check your progress, but flip it back in in order to sew along the boot line here and the rest of the leg line here. After that, you can sew the upper body to the lower body. Next, we're going to take these earpieces and sew them together like this in little square shapes because my sewing machine can't actually sew them that small. Then we cut off the excess fabric so that we can actually flip it inside out without it all bunching up. So we're going to sew the main hair piece to the low main hair piece, so that resembles the back main hair piece. Just like so. Then attach them to each other and begin the very grievous process of sewing the bottom hair pieces to each other. Leave the top piece open though, because we're going to stuff that. Now go ahead and take the hair piece and stuff in the little hairlets. Just stuff in those little beady things so that they poke out and they look like actual hair. And then only use a little bit of stuffing for the rest. Now we're going to take the back part of the head and take the hole and attach it to the upper body. Just like this. And it's going to be backwards, but that's how you sew it in. You're going to go all the way around, just like the shoe. As you can see, it's sewn all the way around, and I've adjusted the template so that it doesn't look as bad as this one looked. I actually had to use the stitch ripper to rip it out and try again after altering the template, but it should look way better. Now attach by either gluing or sewing the ears to the headpiece and then making sure the sideburns are in a proper position by looking at the official plush and matching it with your plush. Now we're going to place the hair piece like this on the back of the headpiece, and you can sew it in just to make sure it stays there. Now we're going to sandwich it between the main headpiece and the two ears, folded exactly like that so that it sticks out when the plush is folded out. And make sure they align with the bottom piece so that you sew it into the peach fabric rather than the green fabric at the bottom and just making it look all messy. But yours should fold out at least a little farther than this so you can actually sew around the face. Now this is what he looks like unstuffed and stuffed with the running stitches. If you did it right, his ears and sideburns should look good and aligned. Now in this clip it shows that I didn't sew the legs, but you've already done that, so you're going to sew along this line here, ending the butt stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and flip him inside out. Just from the little back hole. Now that you're sure your Luigi looks good, we can begin to stuff him. Put some of those pellets into his boots, at the bottom of his boots, and after you stuff the legs, you can put some pellets into his butt, and then stuff with the other stuffing. Then after you've done stuffing the head, the arms, and the legs, you can sew it in with a ladder stitch. Now here's that running stitch thing I was talking about. We're going to go from one side of the face to the eyes so that it kind of pulls the eyes into the side. So we're going to be using the thick thread to go from that side to this eye. So once you pulled it out from there, you're going to put it back into another spot, make it not as noticeable, and pull it right back out where it came from. And make sure it tucks back far enough, but not too tight so that it rips the thread. Then make a loop and tie it off. Then do the same for the other side. For the gloves, we're going to also do some running stitches, but we're going to make them across from each stroke. So you can see the middle one, and I'm just doing the one off center from that one. Be sure not to get it into the embroidery, just right close to it. And tie it off again. As you can see, it's 3 little running stitches for each glove, so do it the same with the other one. Continuing the running stitches, we're going to do one for the nose. We'll make one for each side of the nose, and then we'll pull off each knot so that it tightens. And I stuffed it in, but just because it's very hard to stuff in, you'll probably have to do another running stitch to seal it off. And then I ended up taking one running stitch from the top so that it looks more like a nose, from the top to the bottom, just like so. The thread also keeps the stuffing in, so that's usually why I do it when I make these blushes. Then by using a ladder stitch, we're going to attach the nose just under the eyes. Now just sew and stuff both pieces of the mustache together, and use a ladder stitch to finish them off once you're done stuffing them. And now we're going to position it, again with a ladder stitch, right under the nose. And there he looks with his nose and his mustache. Now, I had some trouble trying to adjust it to the face, so you might want to tie some knots on before you actually do the ladder stitch, so that it actually looks properly positioned on his face and it doesn't look like he's melting. Also use a ladder stitch to attach the back of the hair to the back of the head. Take both of the hat outer rim pieces and sew them together, leaving a small hole in the middle, leaving enough room for the hat tip. Take both of the hat tip pieces and sew them together. Then sandwich them between the outer rim pieces, leaving the open part of the tip sticking out. After you've sewn the hat tip to the outer rim, we're going to take our iron because we need our fabric flat when we're going to sew over it. Before you do, make sure it's set to cotton. Then go ahead and iron it out so that it's mostly facing down on the sewed side. Go ahead and print out the page intended just for iron-on paper. I'll put that link in the description. And carefully cut out just one of the Luigi logos. After you're done cutting it, peel off the back of the paper and place the iron-on onto the fabric. Then place down some parchment paper right on top as you align it where you want it to go on the hat. Just place it a little bit above the hat tip so you have room for the seam to go across. Then go ahead and iron it for 5 to 10 seconds. Now we're going to make a line across the hat tip. Make sure it looks nice and neat. Then another line across the hat itself, just under the iron-on. Once you're done, it should look like that. Although either make the iron-on closer to the bottom or the line closer to the top. Now go ahead and unfold the hat, because we're going to take the hat top and we're going to attach it in little seams to the top of the hat until we reach the end of the fabric, which ends on the back dart. Now, I know I'm doing the motion to sew it, but actually just make little stitches. Once the stitches are in place, sew the end pieces together, like so. And a lot of things aren't shown, like the sewn parts, but do that, then flip up the hat outer rim parts so that they're both matching before you sew all the way around the hat. Don't leave it folded out like this, fold it back in. After that, you can have the choice of leaving the hat unsewn to the head, or you can stitch it with 4 stitches. One here, along with one right at the dart piece, aligning it to the head. And one on the other side as well. Go ahead and attach both pieces of the overall leggings to each other and sew in their darts. Fold up their bottom pieces so that you can hem them later, but first of all we're going to iron them so that they stay there. Only roll them up a little bit, not too far so that it makes the pants too short. Then go ahead and hem the pants. Now you could do what I did with the ears and you could cut out some excess fabric around the overalls, but I just sewed little spots where I wanted to trace along with the sewing machine, and I think that worked fairly well for me. But those who tested the template before I actually finished it said that it was too small, so you might want to do that instead. After you're done sewing it, go ahead and flip the overalls inside out. Then take an iron to them, just like you did with the hat piece. Make sure they're nice and ironed out, as you can see with the overall straps. Then we're going to trace again with the sewing machine all the way to the ends of the straps. And there's a chance it's not going to be perfect, so if you stop at one place and continue afterwards, that's fine, as long as it's not as noticeable. But yeah, just try your best with this. Take each side of the strap and unfold them like this, so you can align them along each other and sew them together. That way, when you fold them back in again, they'll look like a pair of bunny ears. See? See how they look like? Anyways, we're going to take the attached leggings and attach them to the back so we can sew all the way around and end at the other side. Alright, and it's looking pretty good. As long as nothing's looking out of the ordinary and everything's attached properly, we continue with sewing the rest of it. So we're going to take this part of the back of the overalls and we're going to sew that. Now that that's out of the way, you're able to sew the pant legs. Just trace all the way around until you get to the end part. And if it still looks good to you and it doesn't look too tight, we can attach the overall straps. Just do it by hand by using the ladder stitch, or you could adjust it in the sewing machine like this and make sure you don't get the back of the overalls once you attach them. And there you are, everyone. You have a Mario Party Luigi plush. Oh shoot, I forgot the buttons. Take a little bit of glue, just a little bit, and place them on the overall straps. Also, this is optional, but I figured I should address this. There are 2 stitches on the side of the legs of these pants. If you want to do that, you can do that, but I'm not doing it for my plush. So it just looks like this. Alright everyone, that wraps up the plush tutorial. Thank you guys so much for watching and giving me the opportunity to make this plush. I know it was a very highly requested tutorial, so I'm glad I got the chance to do this for you guys. I want to give a special thank you to Kal-El Villa and All Star Plush Productions for helping me with the demo of this plush. I really couldn't have done it without your help, so thank you especially.
Oh,